My mother died today. Or yesterday. I don't know. See, Albert Camus opens the door with exactly that kind of cold, stark sentence. No drama, no lament, just the bare truth. Welcome to Daily Books Museum of the Soul. I'm Fatih, your guide on this foggy road. Here, we don't just summarize books, we shine a light on the darkest, most contradictory, and sometimes most dangerous corners of the human soul. Today, we'll walk the scorching streets of Algeria with a man named Meursault. When Meursault receives the news of his mother's death, it's as if he's reading the weather forecast, a telegram that says, "With our condolences," but it means nothing to him. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe today. What difference does it make? The story of a man who refuses to be crushed under the weight of time and death begins. Meursault gets on the bus, sleeps, drinks coffee. He drinks coffee with milk and smokes a cigarette at his mother's coffin. Sounds awful, doesn't it? But he just lives in a physical world. No tears, no screams, just hot air, buzzing flies, and the smell of varnish. Society expects us not to mourn, but to appear to mourn. It wants us to put on a performance. Meursault refuses to lie. As Elliot Alderson says in Mr. Robot, we live in a kingdom of fakes. Meursault is the only person in that kingdom who refuses to wear the crown. He feels the gaze of those elderly people in the nursing home, judging him like a ghostly jury. They are not actually mourning the dead woman, but their own approaching deaths. Meursault simply observes them like a camera lens, without commentary, without imposing the meanings that should be felt. The funeral procession turns into a walk reeking of sweat and tar. The sun beats on his head like a heavy sledgehammer falling from the sky. Everything is so oppressive and so devoid of humanity. And Meursault just wants to go home and sleep. Tell me, is he a monster? Or is he the only honest person in a world full of actors? He doesn't play by the rules, and for that alone he has already been condemned. For us who chase meaning, his indifference is a greater crime than murder, because he slaps us in the face with the fact that the emotional bonds society holds sacred are illusions. Meursault is a stranger because he doesn't embellish the truth. But this honesty will come with a price. The sun hasn't set yet, and the real tragedy lies hidden beneath that bright light. If you're ready, let's delve into the depths of this uncomfortable honesty.
The funeral ends. Meursault returns to the city, but there's not a trace of sorrow in him. Do you know what he does the next day? He goes swimming. There, he meets Marie. They laugh together, dive into the water, and watch a comedy movie that evening. Society's sacred mourning period is just a page in the calendar for him. When Marie asks him, "Do you love me?" Meursault says, "It doesn't matter, but I guess not." This answer is brutally honest, isn't it? But he can't lie. In Dead Poets Society, Keating said we live for poetry and love. But for Meursault, love is not an idea. It is only the taste of salt water on Marie's skin. He is a pure sensory being. He lives his life not according to a moral code, but according to his bodily sensations in the moment. That's why his relationship with Marie is not a relationship, but an experience. Then Raymond enters the scene. A deep breath. A pimp, violent, a dark man. Meursault becomes friends with him. Why? Because saying no requires too much energy. When Raymond asks him for help, he accepts because it means nothing to him. Goodness or evil have no place in his world. There is only the flow of events. This indifference is actually the greatest danger. Meursault doesn't even realize he's an accomplice to a crime because he only lives in the moment. What society calls conscience finds no echo in him. Drifting after Raymond to that beach, to that white light of the sun that swallows everything, he doesn't write his own destiny. He just floats like a leaf caught in the current. And then, that fateful Sunday, the seashore. The sun is no longer just a source of light, but an antagonist, an enemy. Here, Camus transforms nature into a monster. The sun cuts Meursault's eyes like a knife. As Donna Tartt says in The Secret History, beauty is terror. When he encounters the Arab on the beach, there is no hatred between them. They don't even speak. But the sun strikes like a bell exploding on his forehead. Sweat becomes a veil that blinds his eyes. An unbearable pressure. Meursault has Raymond's gun in his hand. At that moment, the world is not a moral test, but a field of physical pain. He wants to escape the heat, to flee that light, but the sun is everywhere. The trigger's resistance breaks. One shot fires. The man falls to the ground. Meursault stands there and then, deep breath, fires 4 more times. Why those extra 4 bullets? Camus tells us that Meursault knocked on the door of happiness at that moment, but did so with the wrong rhythm. In that moment, he has disrupted the universe's silent balance. Meursault is ruined not because he killed someone, but because he created an anomaly under the pressure of the sun and the heat. Those 4 bullets are not just bullets fired at a dead man. They are fired at the heart of social order and meaning. Now he is a murderer, but not for a reason society can understand, just because of the sun. And this reason will be the real thing that sends him to the guillotine. But the real tragedy will begin in the courtroom.
We enter the courtroom. The air is so thick that even the fans slice through it like guillotine blades. Meursault is sitting there, but he feels more like a spectator than a defendant. Everything around him is like a theater stage. The judges, the lawyers, the jurors, they are all playing their roles. But Meursault, he is outside this scenario. Meursault's voice comes out like a whisper here. They talk more about me than I do. This is the absolute loneliness of the individual against the system. The justice system is not looking for the truth. It is looking for a narrative that will appease society. Meursault is the only piece that doesn't fit into this narrative. You'd expect the case to be built around the murder, right? Wrong. The prosecutor points his finger at Meursault and shouts, I accuse this man of burying his mother with a crime in his heart. Incredible, isn't it? Meursault is being tried not for killing an Arab, but for not crying at his mother's funeral. The questioning focuses more on the day of the funeral than the night of the murder. Did he drink coffee with milk? Yes. Did he smoke? Yes. What is truly terrifying for society is not someone's death, but someone's failure to mourn. Failure to mourn is a violation of the emotional contract that society considers sacred. Meursault is sentenced to death not because he is a murderer, but because he is a stranger. The human mind cannot tolerate coincidence. The idea that a man would kill someone just because the sun was too bright slaps us in the face with how absurd the universe is. That's why the jury has to invent a soul for him, a dark, pitch-black soul. They call him Mr. Antichrist. When they hold up a cross to Meursault and ask him if he is sorry, he simply says, I'm a little bored. Remorse is a tool society uses to control us. If you're not remorseful, the system cannot define you. The inner order Marcus Aurelius spoke of has turned into complete indifference in Meursault. He sends an error message to the moral codes of the modern world. I am not sorry because it won't change anything. And the result? Decapitation. On behalf of the French people. When the verdict is announced, Meursault maintains his strange calm. Even as he is led out of the courtroom, he thinks only of the evening breeze in the streets of Algeria and the salty taste of Marie's skin. Was justice served? No. Society simply erased an anomaly that rejected its rules. This scene tells us society punishes you not because you're honest, but because your honesty exposes their lies. Meursault is a victim, but he is not a hero. He is merely a mirror. And what we see in that mirror is our own hypocrisy. But the real battle will begin in the cell at dawn.
He sometimes imagines his appeal being accepted. It's an inevitable human reflex. He feels the warm blood in his veins suddenly rush to his face. The thought of freedom suddenly transforms into a monstrous beast in that cramped cell. But Meursault must crush that hope immediately, without mercy, because he knows that hope is the most insidious instrument of torture in this system. Hope is the last rotten chain that binds you to this absurd and indifferent universe. Lying on his back on his wooden bunk, he grasps the stark and cold truth of the absurd to his very core. Whether you die now by a knife or in your bed 20 years from now, the outcome will change nothing. From the very second we are born, we are all, without exception, condemned to death. We are all, in his words, the privileged characters in this tragedy. No one is exempt from this law. No one gets special treatment. The walls of the cell are not just made of stone, they are actually prisons of time, woven from seconds and minutes. And time flows as silently as that small patch of blue sky outside. As Meursault looks at that blue, he knows the sky will offer him neither an answer nor solace. The sky is simply there. Just like Meursault's death, it is merely a fact. This acceptance is not where the tragedy begins, but where it ends. And right in the middle of that silence, the priest enters. He wants to save Meursault's soul, trying to tell him a fairy tale about another world. He talks about God, repentance, sin, and mercy. He expects Meursault to see a divine face, a consolation in those cold stone walls. But for Meursault, those stones are just stones, and behind them, there is only emptiness. And at that moment, something snaps. Meursault grabs the priest by his cassock and shakes him. He screams at the top of his lungs, as if emptying his lungs. He vomits all his anger, his honesty, and all the silence he had accumulated up to that day onto the priest's face. None of the certainties you believe are worth a single strand of a woman's hair, he shouts. He rejects the false hope offered by the priest, that narcotic promise of paradise with the back of his hand. He rejects guilt and the concept of sin. At that moment, he experiences something far more sacred than the shining cross in the priest's hand. It is his absolute rendezvous with his own nothingness and honesty. Shaken by this immense anger and reality, the priest leaves the cell in tears. Meursault feels completely liberated for the first time, freed from all those false burdens. He no longer needs a god or a judge. He is his own sole witness. After the priest leaves, silence reigns in the cell. Meursault surrenders himself completely to the universe's compassionate indifference. For the first time, he realizes that this vast universe is just like him, mute, empty, and without expectations. Under the cold light of the stars, he understands how much the world actually resembles him.
The universe neither punishes him nor rewards him. It simply allows him to exist and cease to exist. In this immense silence, Meursault finally feels happy. Yes, you heard right. This is the happiness of a man with hours left before his execution, because he lived his life true to his nature. He never lied to please anyone, never said, "I feel something" he didn't feel. Marcus Aurelius's unshakable inner peace turns into an absurd acceptance in Meursault. In that moment when he feels the world is so brotherly to him, he sees death not as an end, but simply as a farewell. The suffocating regrets of the past and the dark fears of the future are gone. There is only the cool air inside the cell, the sound of night birds, and the scent of the approaching dawn. He is perhaps the only person who has tasted true and pure freedom, freed from the system's chains of meaning that enslave humanity. And now, the final curtain. Meursault has only one wish left, not the gates of heaven nor the executioner's mercy. He wants a large, very large crowd in the execution square, and he wants that crowd to greet him with a single, savage cry of hatred. Why such a dark desire? Because that hatred is the greatest sign that Meursault does not belong to this false world. Their hatred is a medal awarded for Meursault's refusal to wear a mask. Those screams are the seal that he is real, while they are mere actors in a play. He was always a stranger, and in his final moment, standing tall against the dark and cold wind of the future, he was finally free. Was this video just a story or an experience that could change you? What do you see when you look into Meursault's mirror? A performer applauded by society, or a stranger ready to die for his own truth? Thank you for walking with us in this exhibition by Daily Books. See you in the next dark room.